Hi, my name's Peyton. I'm at Amalthea Dairy, and I'm going to be showing you guys a day in the life of a Montana goat farmer. Now right away, as you can see, it's a beautiful day in Montana. It's currently June, with brief amounts of clouds overhead and little showers of rain. Now the first thing I'm going to be doing here is loading up the skid steer. I'm going to first go over and grab the forks and unlock them from their latches. Here I'm getting the skid steer ready and putting the forks on so I can get some bales for the goats. Seatbelt on, safety first, and now it's time to get started. We let the engines get heated up first and then we're ready to go. We'll pop on the hay forks real quick. Then grab a bale, and we're off to the first pen. Now right here I'm going to get out and open up the gate. Normally we'd have a good functioning gate, but unfortunately because of the mud we have to open up a side gate that we manufactured. I set the locks on the boom first and then get out and cut the baling twine. And then throw in their bale. Time to tie up the gate and go to the dry pen and pop in the bale there. Now the dry pen is for any goats that aren't currently milking right now, including bucks, old goats, and young goats. After we throw in a bale for them, then it's time to move on to our regular chores. The first thing we'll do is grab some buckets and fill them up full of grain so that way the chickens can get some feed. First we'll stop by the yearling pen. This pen is full of goats that haven't given birth yet or are in training to become milkers. Right now these guys are getting half a bucket of grain spread across evenly, that way everyone can get some food. As you can see, even when they're young they're quite competitive. And now it's time to move on to the chickens. Now the eggs produced here at Amalthea are mostly for personal use, but we still have quite a few chickens. Now I don't have a whole lot to say about the chickens, but go ahead and watch the process and see how it works.
Hey! Hey!
Here I'm just spreading out the grain for the chickens the same way I did with the goats. Now it is time for me to go inside and check on the eggs. Sure enough, there are a few here, and thankfully there's not a mom protecting them. After I drop off the eggs, I pet the dogs, and then it's time to move on. Now, normally I would just go straight over to the pigs, but unfortunately some events got in the way. That's right, we got a little storm. Now, I'm not a big fan of lightning myself, so I think I'm going to stay inside until it passes. Meaning it's a great time to work on trimming some goat hooves. This goat is quite old, so we've separated her from the rest. That way she won't get picked on by the other goats. As you can hear, the rain is coming down strong. The first thing I'll do is put on some gloves. That way I don't cut my hands if she kicks. Now immediately I can tell this front hoof isn't looking good. So the first thing I'm going to do is scrape out the center, that way I can trim along the sides. Once I clip the tips of the hooves, it allows me to get along the sides easier, and once the sides are trimmed down, then it's just the center and the sole very last. Once I got the majority of the hoof cut, then I'm going to check and make sure I didn't cut too deep anywhere. I'm going to scrape down the center and make sure that it's all smooth and it won't upset her at all. Here's a good example from the winter of a good before and after hoof pick. This is a before, and then afterward, as you can see, it's cut down evenly and should be white on the sole. The front wasn't terrible, but this back hoof on the other hand is a disaster, so it's going to take me quite a bit to cut it down. After I'm done trimming up hooves, then it's time to check on the babies. This here is Stam. He's our only lamb and the only sheep we have on the farm. Now the babies, who are used to their mother's milk, prefer warm water. It has to be just the right temperature, otherwise they're quite picky. Now I'm going to be adjusting my GoPro here, that way you can see the babies and my interaction with them. These goats are a couple months old, so they're fairly self-sufficient, but the babies need a lot of attention. Here's one of the bottle babies from winter that I'm hand feeding. Sorry for the weird perspective, but this was filmed on my phone and spliced into the video afterward. As you can see, the storm has passed and now it's time to move on to the pigs. Similar to the goats, I'm going to be spreading out their food, but unlike the goats, there are things you have to pay attention to. First of all, you don't want to spill grain like I just did. Second of all, you don't want to touch the electric fence when crossing. And third of all, you want to keep ahead of them, that way they don't knock you over accidentally. They're not necessarily aggressive as much as they just don't realize how powerful they really are. So when they run into you and get some food, they don't realize they can knock you over pretty easily. And in the muddy conditions, you don't want to get stuck out here. Here I'm going to pack up the bag and tie it up, that way rainwater doesn't get in and cause any mold. Now I don't really need to check on the piglets, but I'm going to do it regardless for the video. Right now we just have one mom with 5 of her piglets. As you can see, it takes me a while to catch one of these piglets because they're quite squirrely little fellas. But eventually, I do.
Hey.
As I hold him up to the camera, as you can see, he's quite frustrated with me. As not to upset his mother, I let him go. Goodbye, little piglets, and I hope you the best. Now I'm going to click on the sanitize wash, and then fill it up with bleach. Now I was planning on making sure they were on the field, but as I cross the gate, as you can see, there's a surprise waiting for me. a bunch of goats got out.
Hey, let's go. Come on.
After a few minutes I got all but a few. One of them, this last one, really threw me for a loop. Now you can't see it in the video, but I actually ran into one of the fence posts and bruised my ribs. So during the rest of the chase I wasn't very happy with her. You can see in the video I was so excited to catch her I whispered "got you" in her ear, before walking her home.
Come on, let's go.
Now the rest of the goats will be out in the field, so I have to go and round them up. In the summertime they'll be out here most of the day, and the only way to get them to go towards you is to first meet them halfway. The first thing I need to do to round them up is to first get behind them. Afterward I can start shaping the pack.
Come on. Let's go.
Already you can see just by my commands that they're starting to move. They're trained well and know exactly where they need to go.
Come on now.
The herd is naturally sprawled out in every direction, so I need to start rounding them into a cohesive
Let's go.
group.
Come on.
One of my tactics is slapping my stick on the ground, which will motivate them to start moving. And after some time, they start moving into a real group.
Let's go. Come on. Let's go, Bertha. Good girl.
Bertha here is always in last place.
Come on.
I'm moving from side to side to try to pinch the corners in so they can form a real line.
Hurry up now, gal.
As we go by the veggie patch, I'm going to make sure that they don't veer off in any direction and go for the vegetables. After some time, they form a solid line.
You liking your scratching post, Bertha? The two states of goat.
After giving them a brief break, it's time to round them all into the other side of the pen. Now the pen is separated into two different sections. One section is for goats that need to be milked, and the other section is for goats that have already been milked. The goats that take some convincing are usually yearlings or first-time moms who are not yet trained. Also, because of the heavy rains we've been having lately, the mud makes it very difficult for them. Goats are not fans of getting their hooves wet. Bertha, as always, comes in last. I think. But quickly I discover there's one left. First thing I do to begin milking is set up all the buckets full of grain. That way they have something to munch on while they're getting milked. It should take anywhere from 4 to 6 hours to milk all of them, and we milk them twice a day. The goats are already banging on the door to come in. Once I open the chute, I'm going to latch it and then make my way over to the stalks and start letting them in. You can see that this white goat looks back and is rather cautious. This is because they'll sometimes pick on each other while they're eating. Their food system is very much based on hierarchy, like a lot of herding animals. After they're all safely put in the stalks, I latch up the chute, and now it's time to get to milking. The bucket I'm going to be reaching over here is a bucket full of iodine and water solution. Inside sits a rag that we rinse, and then wash down all their teats with to make sure they're sanitized. Now it's time to put on the pumps. You simply turn on the knobs, one after another, and then put them on. Even after they're milked out fully, there's always a little bit of milk left, as you can see here. Now in the mornings, milking will take probably 15 minutes per group, and in the afternoon 10 minutes. This disparity in milk is because overnight they produce a lot more. Now it's time to go over to the exit chute, unlatch it, come over here to this yellow cord, pull open the door. And once I pull on the green cord, it'll let all the goats out. Here again arrives Bertha. Now Bertha has learned that if she stays a little longer, then I'll have to manually push her out, and in doing so, pet her. A goat's intelligence is beneficial for its survival, but sometimes in cases like this, it can be quite the nuisance. Have a good day, Bertha. 250 goats later, and we're finally done with milking. After I've cleaned up the milking room and turned on the wash cycle, it's time to end the day. Before working at Amalthea, I had no experience on a farm, and was nervous to begin. But by being 18 when I started, I realized I had the opportunity to do whatever I really wanted. Fewer and fewer young people are getting excited about farming, but the feeling of accomplishment and the benefits of mental health make the bad days well worth it. Understanding where your food comes from can help you make better choices regarding your health. It's important to understand what it takes to produce food. Buying organic and buying locally helps support your community and helps to prevent the mistreatment of animals in factory farming. I'm likely going to make more videos in the future, so if you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe. And if you like this video, I'd encourage you to press the like button. It helps tremendously. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and goodbye for now.